Hey guys, great to see everybody. This is a study guide for your test coming up, and it's going to be open from Thursday 4/1 to Sunday night 4/11. So if you're taking a look, you may see a political cartoon and you'll notice two people exiting a car, and the person in the middle has the road map, and one person is the Palestinians and the other is Israel, and they're saying, no, you first, no, you first. Then you see another political cartoon below with Yasser Arafat getting dragged away by Arab extremists and the leader of Israel getting dragged away by Israeli extremists while they're trying to shake hands. So what choice would be a good title for these cartoons? They'd be like Roadblocks or Prevention to Peace, okay? So roadblocks or preventions to peace in the Arab-Israeli conflict. You may read two poems, and a student could use these documents in the study of which Middle Eastern topic. Well, both poems talk about ongoing conflicts between the Arabs and the Israelis. So the ongoing conflicts between the religious differences and the conflicts over the land. You'll see the two poems again, and it'll say which country would help the student better understand the historical issues presented in these documents. The big country that would help would be what's going on in Israel, because they all deal with the situation in Israel, okay? You'll see another political cartoon with Pakistan and a pipeline coming out of the Pakistan, and that pipeline is shooting out Taliban fighters, and you'll see a American in his army tank trying to go home. But Afghanistan shot up with bullets, and there's all sorts of Taliban extremist fighters in there. So the Americans looking back and can't leave. So that will talk about the Taliban posing a threat in Afghanistan when the United States leaves. Another thing, you may see some topics: the partition of India, the creation of the state of Israel, and the division of Berlin. All the result of all these were a large mass migration of people. Which document would be associated with the Arab-Israeli conflict? And you take a look, the biggest document is the Balfour Declaration. That's established Israel as a homeland for the Jews in 1948. Which conclusion can be drawn from this timeline? And you'll see a timeline with many events, from the Camp David Accords to the PLO beginning the Intifada and Israel destroying suspected weapon workshop in Gaza. These all are affecting the long-lasting peace in the Middle East. It's been very difficult to achieve, okay? Peace has been very difficult to achieve in the Middle East. And you'll see another political cartoon with Israel saying you first and Palestine saying you first. And that cartoon deals with problems to resolve the road to peace. It's not an easy road. You'll see a photograph of many women examining a statement in Afghanistan, and this is showing the defeat of the Taliban-controlled government. And this is big. Women make up 200 of the 1,500 delegates to the council, which will pick the next Afghan government. So that's good. There will be a new government in Afghanistan. One way Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini and Afghan's Taliban are similar. One way is they want to establish Islamic State. Now, this next question is going to talk with Israel. The Nazi Holocaust, which engulfed millions of Jews in Europe. Basically, it caused the urgency to establish, after World War II, a homeland for Jewish people. And that's going to help establish Israel as a homeland for all Jews. Method used by terrorists. A common method used by terrorists in the 70s and 80s would be hijacking planes and taking hostages. That was used a lot. The United States and Arab nations since 1948. The big contention between the U.S. and Arab nations since 48 has been the United States has supported Israel, and many Arab nations have condemned America for our support of Israel. The concept of nonviolent resistance is illustrated by the actions of Mohandas Gandhi, and he used nonviolence to get India independence, where a lot of other countries are going to use violence. So sometimes nonviolence does work. In the 1980s, a major source of conflict between Israel and Palestinian Arabs, it's been the demand of Palestinian Arabs for their own homeland. They want land that was taken from them to create Israel given back. So there is a group called the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or the PLO, and the PLO wants to establish a homeland for Palestinian Arabs, and Yasser Arafat, their leader, has used violence in the past. One factor that has served as a bond among Arabs in the Middle East, the one big factor that's drawing all the Arabs together, is a hostility towards Israel, and also a common religion of Islam, and a desire to have Palestine reestablished. One major factor that continues to contribute to terrorist activities in the Middle East, the Palestinians' effort to establish a homeland. They've used violence to draw attention to their cause. Now, the experiences of the United States in Vietnam and the Soviet Union in Afghanistan during the 1980s suggest that powerful nations cannot always force their will on others. The United States had a very difficult time in Vietnam, and the Russians had a very difficult time fighting in Afghanistan. And superpowers eventually, when they left, the countries were taken over by the people. United States involvement in Vietnam War and the Soviet in Afghanistan were motivated mainly, why? By the governments. The United States involvement in Vietnam and the Soviet Union's involvement in Afghanistan during the 80s were motivated mainly by the government's desire to support governments that would remain strong allies. That's why we helped Vietnam out. We wanted them to, be democratic, especially in the South. And the Russians, why did they invade Afghanistan? They wanted to keep it communist. And once America left Vietnam, Vietnam became totally communist. Once the Soviets left Afghanistan, the communist government fell. So those were some of the things. Guys, watch this a few times. Good luck.